Gameplay, boys.
Well, I think the first thing is that, there's been a lot of rumours for a while that we were going to be going to Nuketown, but
Leaks
as
are
always,
true.
things are never as simple as they appear. I mean,
They are not.
the sign that you'll see when you arrive identifies it as Camp Edward, which, isn't quite what people thought Nuketown was necessarily, because what it turns out to be is that it is a front for something else, something much, much larger. This is actually a facility owned and operated by a group known as Broken Arrow. And once you start scratching the surface, you're going to realise that, the Nuketown that you think you know really is, I was going to say literally the tip of the iceberg, but that's not true. It's figuratively the tip of the iceberg. I think the overall map is many times larger than the original. I can't remember the exact proportion, so I'll just say if it was like that, it's more like that.
We've got a very
How you guys
complicated
feeling?
relationship with
First
Outlands
impression.
this year.
I'm
we
excited,
don't like stories.
bro. I'm excited for a new
That's the
map.
chaos story, so just keep that to the
Just in
side.
general,
Just keep that to
fair,
the side.
Fair.
I just hate the HUD,
Okay,
bro. That's
so
it, but...
talk to us a little bit about the implications of having the Primus and Ultimus crews working together for the first time. How does that begin shaping our experience here?
I think everyone knows that, the main difference, the Primus crew got to go on a very kind of emotional journey, searching for their souls and trying to save
Yeah,
them.
they
and
got a new
everything.
perk too.
Whereas Ultimus were a bit more goofy, stumbling around, having a bit of a laugh and not caring too much about the fate of the universe. Now under Nikolai's leadership, obviously he's going to first of all find out that things weren't quite as simple as he thought, and Richterman always had reasons for keeping
on the wall, I
secrets to
believe there
himself.
was
Nikolai's
Reagan.
going to struggle a little bit with that, because once you've read that chronorium and you know what's coming, should you tell people, or do you try and just nudge them along, or did the book say that you never told them? It's a real can of worms, but like I say, getting the different versions of the characters in the same map, you really, really see the contrast. Richterman, Ultimus Richterman, insane, utterly insane. I mean, Primus is
Just make a
only
linear
marginally
zombie
more stable,
campaign.
but he's
What
got
the heck is
kind
this
of a
crew?
mellower soul.
It
Drunk
makes sense for the
Nikolai
story,
bumbling around
the-
looking for his vodka and going on about his ex-wives.
That's why
As I
we're
say,
gonna be
it's
able
kind
to
of a-
play as
It's
Primus
kind of a
and Ultimus.
reminder of how far the characters have come, and seeing what they do and don't recognise in each other is part of the fun.
Those
Well, and you get to play
power
as
symbol
both.
there.
Yes.
Well, tell us, was that a bit of a reunion of sorts? Was it a walk down memory lane from a narrative standpoint in terms of like how those personalities?
In a weird way, it's funny. I remember saying this when we did Classified, because we'd spent so long with Primus since Origins forward, really, and we tried to make them more realistic and give them a lot more emotional resonance, which I definitely think we achieved. If you look at the Black Ops 3 season and all those death scenes, it was nice to see people crying as much as I actually cried when I wrote some of them, because
It wasn't funny.
Oh man, homies
it wasn't-
cried,
no,
bro.
It's no laughing matter. And that emotional journey that we'd taken them on, that was hugely important to me. So when we first decided to go back to Ultimus, a little part of me was a bit, they weren't as much fun, they didn't have as much. But once I started writing the jokes again and making myself laugh a lot,
Yeah.
and hopefully other people, it's no good if it's just me that laughs, but so initially there was a bit of a resistance from me
feeling
to
so
bring back
far?
Ultimus, because I thought we'd progress the characters.
Yeah.
But doing Classified and then doing this where we get them together, it's the best of both worlds. It really is.
All right. So here we are. We find ourselves back in Nuketown.
Yep.
Take us on a stroll, Greg.
Take us on a stroll. Well, look, there's a bus. It's not the bus. It's not going anywhere. That's not to say that Ted isn't necessarily going to appear somewhere down the line, but
Easter egg
he's a
ending
robot.
leak.
He's kind of difficult to get rid of. So like I was saying earlier, a lot of these areas are going to be familiar to people, obviously with a slight twist. There's going to be lots of, like every time we do a map, it gets its own sheen on it. But this, like I said earlier, literally just represents a small fraction of actually what's there to be discovered.
It looks
so,
good,
we let people
disappointed.
start off thinking they know what they're getting into, and then as they get
Happy
deeper
with
into
it.
the game, we obviously
Yeah.
pull the rug out from
If you're on
under them and
Xbox,
suddenly
man,
let them
rip,
say,
bro.
not knowing what's coming next. That's the way we do things.
Yeah, we have the bunker
Talk to me a little
open
bit about
there
just
too.
the
Yeah,
lighting
you're
and
right.
environment. To me, I mean, it's a beautiful looking map.
It is, and in fact, that's one of the things that the characters will talk quite a lot about. Is, in fact, I think it's Ultimus Nikolai. It says, "Who are billionaires who live in such luxury?" So they
Very
all
good.
have their impressions of what's going on in the map. But as you see now, we're starting to go into some of the lower levels, into the Broken
Levels.
Arrow facility,
Yeah.
where, like all our good scientific research groups, they've been doing all sorts of things that they maybe shouldn't have been
Yo, it
doing,
says
or
diner there,
definitely
right?
had consequences that they may
transit.
not have expected.
As we find ourselves
He
down
said
here in the
Ted
bunker,
too, so
talk,
whole lot of
talk to us a
transit
little bit about
vibes
kind of
too.
the size of these
Yeah,
things,
transit is
because
low-key
I'm
connected with
seeing things
Nuketown,
in
so that's for
Nuketown
sure.
that I haven't seen before.
Yeah, but it's of a magnitude of 4, I think is the right way to say it. 4 times bigger. What you used to see was a quarter of what's really there now. I'm just approaching statistics in different ways here, and none of them are very well. But yeah, it's at least
Dude,
4
low-key
times
really
the size
excited,
before.
but are we gonna have the same old training spots or no? I
what
want
was-
at
what were
least
some of
one
your
of the OG training
favorite
spot
elements
back
to
for
build
Nuketown.
back in
You know, where you would just
Well,
train
I mean,
behind
the biggest one for me
in the
really was
backyard. You
narrative,
know what I mean?
to kind of get
I wanna be
into
able to train there,
the
man.
narrative history of the
Yo, what's up,
building. I mean,
Bob?
people,
How's it going,
I
brother?
remember people asking me years and years ago, why was Marlton in the bunker? So, you know, that's something that we're going to get to revisit a little bit, shall we say. So I think, you know, even beyond what people actually knew of Nuketown, there was just a lot of very significant narrative threads that we knew that we had to come back to. I mean, we explored a little bit of Broken Arrow in the comic book series we did a couple of years ago with the Victus crew. We saw some of Russman's history to that. But this is much more of a deep dive, and you will get to see some of the things they are responsible for, including some twists on traditional enemies and traditional weapons. I think you saw some lightning hounds running around there who are a little bit
What
of
are
a,
your guys'
a variation
thoughts so
on
far?
the usual.
Yeah.
I'm
Just
liking
a
it.
note for
It's
for
just the
viewers. This
HUD
is a
that
sort
is
of pre-release build. There's some temp audio
killing
in there, so-
immersion.
Yeah, it might
just
be
for
some
me
of mine.
though, but that's
So if you hear a Scottish person or a robot yelling out, that's just because this build is before we had implemented in the actual actors' dialogue. And
Yeah.
that's another thing. God, they had fun doing both characters.
But that'll sound a little different tomorrow when it's out.
Yes.
Okay. So prior to just over the last couple of days, we've seen the Ray Gun Mark II.
Oh yeah, the Ray Gun Mark
Ray
II.
Gun,
on,
boys.
on our social channels. Talk to us about the Ray Gun Mark II.
Well, ray guns have got a long history in zombies, and you know, people always like to see the ray gun coming back. And this time, the Ray Gun Mark II is coming back with a very special twist.
Yeah, same.
I don't want to explain exactly how it functions, but let's just say you can modify it or put it together in a number of different ways that
Yo,
significantly
there used to be a
alter
quick
its
revive like
functionality. So it kind
there
of becomes
in the
a
original.
customize your own ray gun the way you like.
Now we got
kind
a
of
new
ray
perk?
gun. Good old Ray.
So the inventiveness of the ray gun doesn't end there. If I'm not mistaken, there's a new perk that's being introduced.
Yes, Blood Wolf Bite. Sounds good, doesn't it?
I like it.
It sounds good already. Well, this one I particularly like because what it does is when you're doing a lot of damage and killing a lot of zombies and you have this perk activated,
Yeah.
it will spawn a wolf known as Luna, who will then fight alongside you, jumping up the
Mine
zombies.
completely blown.
And come on, dogs eating zombies? That's good. We've usually had the Hellhounds, or in this map, the Lightning Hounds coming at us. It's nice to have a dog on our side again.
Yeah.
We've not done that
Don't
for
let
a
your
little while.
dogs
And the
out,
last one,
guys.
I think, was the
Don't
ghost
do it.
dog and
Don't do it.
Jacker. At least this one's alive.
All right. So kind of looking ahead, just peeking right over the top a little bit, take down the road with the Ether story and the next DLC. Where does it all take us?
It takes me back to my office where I continue writing it. No, it is. It's going to take us. We're so close to the end now. We're so close to wrapping up the story threads that we've been having for a long time. A lot of them are going to come together and coalesce within Alpha Omega. But there are other things within this map that are going to lead us directly into the next operation in our DLC 4. And there will be a lot of answers. There will be a lot of pain. There will be a lot of joy. And maybe a few tears as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward
Rip,
to it.
man. Homie's about to cry,
Right.
man.
So let's just let's recap everything here. Make
Okay.
sure that we've covered it all. Huge narrative,
Yep.
larger
Biggest
map.
ever.
larger map, larger play space, playing as both Primus and Ultimus
Yes.
crew, brand new experience. Ray Gun Mark II, new
Brand
perk.
new, guys.
What are we leaving out?
The secret things that we're not going to talk about.
The secret things.
Because there's always, back to your iceberg metaphor again.
Yeah.
What we've said today, it's a bigger bit of iceberg, but it's still not the entirety of the iceberg. There's, as I say, there's a bunch of ancillary and or guest characters, both allies and enemies, that are going to pop up as you progress in the main quest. So lots to see.
Craig,